Welcome back to the Dark Reading News Desk. Terry Sweeney here with Dark Reading, and joining me now is Tom Parker, CEO of Hubble. Tom, thanks for joining us on the Dark Reading News Desk. You wrote about a decade ago emphasizing the importance of going back to basics in cybersecurity. Dare I ask, how are we doing there?
Yeah, I think that article on dark reading was really about IT hygiene and how it impacts security issues. I think the big problem with a lot of security programs today is the interdependency between IT and security. I mean, it should be a partnership. The most successful CISOs are always those that are able to reach across the aisle, work with their IT counterparts, and address some of these key issues such as patch management. Visibility is fundamental. Of course, at Hubble, that's one of the things that we really focus on is providing visibility across both IT and security organizations, which you can then use to understand your security controls. You know, the old dotage of you can't secure what you don't know about is something we've been saying for years,
Sure.
but we haven't really embraced how we're actually going to do that. And so I think in terms of how we're doing, I think we're doing really well in certain areas. I think when it comes to things like endpoint protections, baselines, we have a lot of really great security IT baselines that we can leverage off the shelf now, like the CIS control set, the NIST control frameworks. I think certain areas such as visibility, of course, the reason that we're in business is because we're not doing so well in that area. And that's why Hubble's here today. Yeah.
So it is curious with all these technical advancements, AI, unprecedented levels of automation, why these fundamental measures are still crucial today. Despite technological advances, why do these fundamentals still matter?
Yeah, actually, it's become more consequential to not have a good track of what you have on your environment. Cloud, for example, is a fantastic thing. It allows for startups like ours to move a lot more quickly when we innovate. A lot of the things like hosting is done for us, but it's very much like trying to put toothpaste back in the tube. It allows us to create a lot of IT sprawl. It's a lot easier for us to, instead of having to buy hardware now, I can go into AWS and spin up 1,000 instances in a second. And so keeping track of that is really critical. I'm really glad that you brought up AI because I think, especially in the regulated industries that are using AI, inventory of AI is going to be an extension of the IT inventory problem that we're looking at today as well. And we're not really starting to talk enough about that as a problem set.
The basics themselves are fairly straightforward and well understood. They are a lot tougher to implement, and that isn't completely intuitive. What's up there? Has cloud complicated the addition of additional measurements that are fundamental to getting the big picture? Help us understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really come down to the organization's commitment to address good hygiene. It's not too different actually from when we look at public healthcare issues.
Okay.
If you look at the inclination that many people have to take painkillers instead of addressing the systemic issue that is causing the pain, eating more healthily or working out frequently, these things are hard. It requires a rigorous regime. And for many organizations, especially large established organizations, that means cultural shifts in the way that we think about how we run our networks and how we invest in security. And so I think it's, more sophisticated CISOs recognize that, and certainly those that I see take new jobs, day one, hygiene is a priority for them. They want to make sure that when they think about their security program, and it's great that they're going to invest in next-gen endpoint and next-gen whatever, however, they recognize that they can't build that house on a flimsy foundation, and that foundation has to begin with visibility into your assets.
So I'm glad you brought that up. Security asset visibility is considered one of these foundational pieces that we've been talking about. Elaborate on what this term security asset visibility means and what's significant about in its role in improving cybersecurity?
Yeah, sure. Well, the first thing that's really important is to define what an asset is. To many, if you ask an IT practitioner, an asset might be a device on a wired network, a physical thing with an IP address. But if you go talk to the board and ask them what an asset is, they'll tell you that it's really something that creates intrinsic value to the organization. And so then we have to ask ourselves, where is value created? Where does value live? What is the job of the CISO? It's to protect value. And so if we're trying to understand value, we're not just talking about things with an IP address, we're talking about our data, our applications, our intellectual property, our cloud resources. It's much more than what's with an IP address. And so at Hubble, we're very, very focused on this idea that we are trying to help organizations understand value, where value lives in the organization, and not just things with an IP address. So that's the first step. The second step is understanding how they relate to each other, how a group of systems relates to a group of users, and how are they tied to a business process. Because that ultimately is going to affect, okay, how is that business process allowing me to make revenue? How is it going to, if that breaks, how much money am I going to lose every day? And that really should be the job of the security team, is understanding that. Security is largely a problem of scale. I have too many alerts on my SIM dashboard. I have too many vulnerabilities. There's too many threats being talked about every day at this conference and in the media. How do I wrap my arms around that? I need a common denominator to help me prioritize. And asset visibility can do that for you if you do it right.
Well, I also hear an invitation in there for security staff to speak in the language of the board of directors. I mean, tying asset to value beyond like a dollar figure of what that costs to deploy or manage, like as you said, pointing to where the value is created.
Listen, when I was a line of business CISO at AIG Insurance, I could count on one hand the number of people in the security team that really understood implicitly how our business made money. Now, do I need them to know exactly how they can talk to the board and how we made money? No. But do I need them to know enough that when they see this asset with a piece of malware that detonated on it, that it's associated with a critical business process? Absolutely. And that's the sort of, and this is why we call Hubble Asset Intelligence, because we're providing operators the intelligence they need to make those informed decisions without becoming experts necessarily in the business.
Didn't we have this problem solved with products like ServiceNow and CMDB technologies?
Unfortunately, we thought we had it solved. And my journey as an entrepreneur is to answer often difficult questions from investors, and that was one of the questions that came up from a lot of investors when we started this journey. Hasn't this been solved already? And I think it took me a while to figure this out, but ultimately I think what I realized is that we thought it had been solved. We've kind of created this false sense of security, not just with CMDB technologies, but with security technologies. You go to the show floor today, and you go talk to every vendor out there and ask them how they can help you with your visibility. A lot of vendors will have an asset inventory. The problem is they're a vulnerability management product and they're doing active scanning of your network. Or they're an endpoint product and they're based on agent visibility. And so these are all self-defining universes based on a limited corpus of data. And it's creating an asset inventory, sure, but it's a subset of really the entire universe that the CISO should have to care about. And so at Hubble, we're very focused on creating that complete end-to-end view so that really you understand exactly what it is you have to secure and its current state of compliance with your critical control sets.
Tom, real briefly, help us understand how organizations can stay better up to date and adaptable with their approach to cybersecurity hygiene.
Yeah, I think, I think it comes back to visibility, really taking a critical look at the way that you are measuring hygiene, understanding what your KPIs are. It's really important for organizations to look at metrics which are becoming more and more popular, like mean time to inventory. When a device plugs into your network, how long is it before it shows up in your CMDB inventory? Our studies have shown that that's generally over 30 days, could be far worse than that. In those 30 days, that system could be unmanaged, unpatched, or it's an unknown unknown. And so bringing that down and having metrics like that to measure your health and measuring incremental improvement is fundamental to any successful security program.
Tom, great stuff on a new cut on fundamental measurement in cybersecurity.
Sure.
Thanks for joining us on the Dark Reading News Desk.
Yeah, thank you.
We've been talking with Tom Parker, CEO of Hubble. This has been Terry Sweeney for the Dark Reading News Desk. Thanks for joining us for this segment.